Oh, here we go. We've got a countdown. Hi, I'm Sarah from Parent Suportal, and today we've got Cathy from In-Car Safety Centre to talk to us about car seats for children with additional needs and or disabilities. Hi, Cathy. If you want
Hello, Sarah.
If you want to tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. Right. Well, my name's Cathy. I'm the manager of the In-Car Safety Centre in Essex. We have 3 centres. One's in Milton Keynes and another one in Belfast. I myself am a parent of 4 children and a grandparent of 6 children. So I have a big family. I have worked in the field of children's car seats for probably about 30-ish years, so quite a long time. I started off working with the local authority as a road safety officer with specialty to children's car seats. And then when I left there, the owner of In-Car Safety asked me to set up a centre here in Essex, which I did, and I was pleased to do. In-Car Safety Centre was started around 35 years ago, so we've been in operation for a very, very long time. Our aim at In-Car Safety is to make sure that, as best we can, children are travelling as safely as possible, because generally statistics show that about 70% of car seats are incorrectly installed in cars and not used correctly. So our aim at In-Car Safety is to try and improve that and make sure that all children, as they deserve, have the opportunity to travel as safely as possible. About 20-ish years ago, I'm not sure of the actual time, but it's probably about 20 years ago, maybe longer, maybe 30 years ago. The owner of In-Car Safety felt that he'd like to branch into additional needs or children with disabilities. He himself is an engineer, so he has a lot of expertise in building stuff, and some of the stuff he does for children with disabilities, he builds himself. So we went into that specialism, and I was very, very interested in that and had been working with children with disabilities before I joined the company. So I already had the expertise there. Our aim at In-Car Safety with children with disabilities is, as best as possible and for as long as possible, we want to keep the children within normal range seating rather than going specialised seating too early. Because in most cases, I would say in almost all cases, for a child up to about 4, 5, 6 even, you can usually accommodate them within normal seating, possibly with some adaptations, which we can do ourselves. So that's what our aim is. So that keeps the cost down for parents until they really need to go into something more specialised. Because obviously once they get to around 5 or 6, the normal range of seating doesn't accommodate them, because most children at that age would go into a high back booster, which is totally inappropriate for a child with disabilities. So obviously then they do need to go into more specialised seating. Again, we try, if we can, to look at what we can do within the range rather than getting in the more specialist stuff. We do a lot of really specialised seating. We have links with quite a number of companies that we bring in seating. But obviously that comes at quite a considerable cost for parents. So at that stage, generally, most parents would opt to look at getting some funding to help them purchase a seat, because they do get to be very, very expensive. Right, so so basically, when you're looking at children with disabilities, you're looking at how they sit in the seat, what their condition, and how it affects them. Generally, I would say that children with disabilities fall into 2 main categories. You have children who have physical needs, so you have mobility.
Apologies for fireworks. Sorry.
Very loud, isn't it? But never mind, we're fine. I'm carrying on. And then you have others who have behavioral needs, um, and basically need to be kept in place in the car.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they become a danger to themselves or others within the car. So
Yeah.
they fall into two categories like that. Um, so the seats we provide generally do then therefore fall into two categories once you fall out of the normal range. So we have many seats that have swivel bases, give lots of postural support,
Hmm.
and to aid the parent sort of getting the child in and out, and obviously giving the child lots of support in there, lots of sort of
Hmm.
climb mechanisms, side support, trunk support, footrests, all sorts of other things to accommodate them. And a lot of these seats are kind of modular, so you can kind of add bits and take them away as you need them, to give the child the
Okay.
support where they need it, when they need it. Um, and then the other type we have is more restraint. So we have a seat that will take a child up to 36 kilos with a 5-point harness. And again, we can add other bits to that, like chest clips, buckle guards, other bits and pieces to keep the child in place. Um, we also now developing um, a situation where you can attach a harness to a high back booster, so the child could have a high back booster with a harness attached, and that can be as simple as just a 5-point harness within the high back booster to give them support and keep them in place, or it could be as much as one we call a magnetic harness, which basically is like a magnetic vest, and it does the actual vest does up with magnets, which the child would have every difficulty getting out of them. I think I might have had one child in all my years that has actually got out of that, but I did solve
Okay.
it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, in terms of, if a parent was looking for a seat, would they go onto your website? Would they, because it sounds quite specialised
Yes.
what you do in there. So they would get in touch, and would you need to see the child, or would it be communication
Right.
via
So
email and virtually? How
right.
does it work?
Under normal circumstances, we would invite parents and child into store. That's what we would love to. That's what we aim to do,
Mhm.
and then we would have a consultation with the parent and child in store, trying out different combinations of seats, making sure that it was suitable for their car. And then what we can do is give them an assessment and a quote for that seat, which they can then take away and basically decide how they're going to fund it. Um, Obviously, as the situation is now with COVID, we're being a bit discerning about who we invite into store. So generally, children, certainly um, after we came out of the first lockdown, we tried as much as possible to not invite children into store, because we felt that obviously with the contagion, it was could be too dangerous for them to
Mhm.
come out when they're vulnerable. So we tried to do then virtual appointments. So I have been over the last 6 months really been doing quite a lot of virtual appointments, either on the phone, through email, um, one or two video chats, to make sure that they get the right seating. So we're doing what we can to try and make sure that parents are helped as much as possible and get the right situation for their child. Um,
And so, if we've had a question come in on the comments there, and they're saying, if they had a normal car seat for a child under 6, um, and they just needed the adaptations, would they send you the seat, or how would that work? Or you would just
um,
help the adaptations to
it
fit
would
with the seat?
it would kind of depend. It would depend on the child. I mean, we can't do engineering adaptions. What I mean by adaptions is basically putting in more support, postural support, um, to actually help the child and be more comfortable within the seat, and that's generally enough. And yes, I can do that. I can maybe have a look at the child in the seat, maybe photos or something, and then maybe decide what was going to be appropriate to give the child better support in the seat. If I felt that the seat wasn't going to support the child, then obviously we discuss maybe another option for the child. I didn't say before that for the majority of children certainly under 4, we always recommend they travel in a rear facing position, particularly children with low postural, who need a lot of postural support, because the implications of being forward facing when they can't support themselves are very, very damaging in a crash. So if they're rear facing, it protects them in a better way.
Could you, because
Sorry,
when my kids were younger, I didn't understand about rear facing, and now they're older, it's not. So could you explain to us a little bit about why that changed to rear facing? Because it used to be that they were only facing for a certain amount of time, and then now is it recommended now that that's for as long as possible? Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is that it's as we grow more knowledgeable about how accidents happen and implications on children's bodies. Scandinavia actually is streets ahead of us in the way that they carry their children in cars. They did research in the 60s, and actually have always carried their children in a rear-facing position. The reason being that if a child is in a rear-facing position in a crash, they are protected wholly by the seat. If they're forward-facing, the only thing keeping them in place is a harness. Also, children's heads make up about 25% of their body weight. And if they're forward-facing in a crash, their head isn't held by anything, only their body. And the implications are that their head is thrown forward with force and speed, and they can have very severe neck and head injuries. If they're rear facing, that doesn't happen. Now, obviously, children in the normal range do develop more head control, but a child with disabilities, certainly with low mobility, hasn't got that and doesn't develop that. So for them, the implications of being forward facing are far more severe. So if we can, we try to keep them rear facing for as long as possible. And I do understand that there are implications why you may not be able to do that. If the child has breathing difficulties, needs a lot of suction, things like that, then obviously it may be more difficult.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we would tend to advise.
And what age can you be rear facing up to now with seats that are on the market?
Up to an average 6-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, an average 6-year-old. The law now has changed, and children have to, by law, be rear facing till they're 15 months anyway.
Okay.
Most seats on the market now will take a child rear facing till they're at least 4. And many of the seats coming onto the market, and some that have been around for a long time that we stock that have come through from our Swedish friends, take the child up to 25 kilos, which is an average 6-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got another question that's come in.
Yeah.
I know you can't recommend one specific brand, but do you have a top 3 recommended seats for an infant which with little head control and low muscle tone?
How old is the child?
Says infant, so I'm guessing less than 1.
Yeah. It kind of depends how heavy they are. There are some lie flat cots, so we sometimes recommend babies with very low mobility, and particularly if they have real problems, lying flat in lie flat cots.
Okay.
There are some around. We don't carry it, but Hannay do one called the Matrix, which lays flat. Maxi Cozy now have one called the Jade, which is very good. We do carry that. There is not so many of them around. There used to be a company called Kiddie, and they did a lay flat infant carrier, which we used to use quite a lot, but they unfortunately went out of business. So that's one way of looking at it. But it really depends how their SATs are and how they can tolerate an infant carrier. There are some infant carriers that do give a child a good good position, and that can be individual for the child and the car. It's difficult to recommend a brand
Okay.
without knowing the child and the car that it's going to go into. But one of the things I'd probably like to know is how their SATs are and how their SATs drop if they're in an infant carrier. Um,
Right.
because
Okay.
if their SATs drop out, they would have to lay flat. But sometimes they can tolerate an infant carrier
Yeah.
um, with a little bit of extra support and making sure that it is as reclined as possible in the car.
And is that why there's a variation with the type of car? Is it the angle of the seat or?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, very, very, varies so much with doing cars. Some cars have quite flat seats. Some cars have what they call anti-submarine seats, which actually do tilt back. And more modern cars are having that anti-submarine
Okay.
facility in the car, which actually does cause sometimes quite a problem
Yeah.
with smaller seats. Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I'm trying to think what else I was going to ask you. Let me check my question list. Have you got anything else that you wanted to go over with us?
Um,
Oh, I've got. If you haven't, I've got a question.
got another question?
Yes. What are some of the common mistakes that are made when people with car seats, when they're fitting car seats and using car seats with
Right.
kids?
Generally, if you just buy a car seat for a child, it may not be suitable for the child. It may not be suitable for the car. It has to be approved for the car. So that means when you're looking at a car seat, you have to make sure that the manufacturer of that car seat approves it for your particular car, because they're not all approved for all cars. You might have Isofix and think, oh, well, it's an Isofix seat, it'll fit. That isn't the case. It has to be approved for your car.
Where would
Um,
you find that information out?
Right. So all these car seat manufacturers have on their websites approval lists, and
Okay.
basically, usually on most of them, you'll tap onto the seat that you particularly like. They have different ways of doing it, but quite often it's oh, I particularly like that seat. Click onto that, and then it will take you down and ask you to does it fit my car? You click onto that, and it'll take you to a screen where you fill in your car details, and then it
Mhm.
will say yes, that seat is approved. There is another way you can go in. Sometimes you can go on a manufacturer's website and go to the on top page. They might have the fit list. Click on that,
Okay.
put in your car details and your child's age, etc., and then it will tell you all the seats in their range that which might be suitable. So that you can do it that way. You could, of course, ring us up and ask us to help you with it,
Yeah.
because we can certainly do that all for you. And we can go further than the manufacturers, because sometimes the manufacturer will approve a seat, but it may still not be suitable for your car. I think this is where there is some confusion, because unfortunately, car manufacturers don't try, or car seat manufacturers don't actually physically put their seats into all the cars that they're approving. What happens is the car manufacturer will send the car seat manufacturer a list of the cars and the dimensions of the cars and certain specifics that they're asked to take, and the car seat manufacturer will determine from that whether it's sort of suitable. Have I gone? Have I disappeared?
You have, and I don't know why.
I don't know.
I can still hear you.
Oh, that's all right. I'll carry on talking. Probably better if you don't see me. Um, yes, so that's one of the things that people don't really understand. Then, if you bought the seat, quite a lot of people aren't familiar with how they fit. Um,
Right.
they think they know, but sometimes they don't.
Mhm.
So this is where I said about 70% of seats are incorrectly fitted in cars, because people buy
Right.
them and they think, oh, that just goes in like this. The seatbelt fitted ones, they put the seatbelts in the wrong position,
Mhm.
don't pull it tight enough.
Yeah.
Um, it might be that if they've got Isofix seats, they put them in the car, click them in, they don't uh, butt them up to the car seat properly. They might put the legs on a storage box, because they have support legs, a lot of the Isofix seats. And if they go on a storage box in the car, that's not a safe solution.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it could be that. And then even if they've got all that right, they put the child in, they may not adjust the straps correctly, so they might have the straps in the wrong position. They might not pull the straps tight enough. so the child isn't properly supported in there. So there's quite a lot of things that people can do wrong.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of car seats checks over the years over the country, and probably I would find 70 to 80% of them are incorrect, which is
Yeah.
quite alarming. That's
Wow.
under the general way of things.
And just a final question that's come in about working with children who have a ASD autism diagnosis and are great at escaping from their car seat. Any Houdini proof harnesses? Did you mention one before with magnets?
Yes, it's on our website,
Okay.
incarsafetycentre.co.uk, under the special needs section, and
Oh,
it looks like a bit like a vest,
right.
and it does up with a series of magnets, a bit like the magnets that you get in the shops on clothes, the security tags. So you have to have
Yeah.
another magnet to undo them. So basically,
Right.
you can do the harness up with the tags, and the child can't get out of it until you let them out, basically. So it does keep them in place quite well.
Okay.
There are some things that are less severe than that.
Yeah.
Some of the harnesses have bits and pieces on them that you can keep them in. It kind of depends how severely they are escaping from their seat,
Yeah.
really.
Okay. Could you give us that website information just one more time, please, in case people
Right,
didn't
it's
catch?
incarsafetycentre.co.uk.
Okay. Okay. Great. I haven't got any more questions. Is there anything else you want to go over that we've missed out?
Why? Yeah, I think one of the things you asked about was, costings of seats. How much does a seat cost?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's very difficult to say because it depends what seat is going to be appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Most seats within normal range that are good quality, you're looking at paying between £300 and £600. So that's for a child up to about 6.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you would expect to pay that anyway. I mean, £600 is a very expensive one. It's just the new one that we've got out, which is really, really good, but it is quite expensive, and it does go from birth to 6 years, so it can last a long time. But the
Okay.
majority of them, you're looking at paying about three to £400, between that sort of range. Once you go on to the more specialised seating,
Mm-hmm.
you're looking between £2,000 and £4,000.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going for the harnesses with the high back boosters, then you're looking at, for the average or normal harnesses with high back boosters, probably about £400 or £500. But when you're
Okay.
looking at the magnetic harness, you're looking at about more like £700 or £800. So it's
Right.
kind of those are the kind of
Yeah.
costings you're looking at, which is why I say once you go out of the normal range of seating, you're looking at possibly getting a bit more help and funding to help you with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Um,
it's been
Can't think of anything else.
That's great. We've covered quite a lot there. I've definitely learned a few things. So thank you very much. People can get in touch with you via the website if they
can get in touch via the website. They can obviously the phone numbers for all the centres on there are there. I'm the Essex Centre, so you can contact me through the Essex Centre. I am, even though we're locked down and closed at the moment, I am still available by phone and email.
Okay.
You can email me as well. So my email here is Essex, in the county of, at incarsafetycentre.co.uk. And I
Okay.
can help as many people as possible over the email as well. Because we're talking quite generally, but obviously each child is very special and very different, and needs maybe a different solution. So it's
Yeah.
you can talk a little bit generally, but I think it becomes more difficult, and you need to be able to sort of talk to someone
Yeah.
face to face, or email to email, or phone by phone,
Yeah.
to actually know what's going to be most appropriate for them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for talking to us. We've got lots of information there, and we'll put this recording up so parents who come to us in the future can have this available to have a look at. So thanks a lot for your time.
Fabulous. Thank you. Lovely seeing you and talking to you.
Yeah, you
You're
too.
lovely people.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.